Now we review the film Y2K 2024, because there have been others. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am Richard. This is Random Street Theater, and I have seen Y2K, which... look, I'm old, and this film reminds me of how old I am. So I'm just going to assume that most of you don't understand the whole Y2K thing. But you see, when we started making computers, nobody really thought about the turn of the century. And they were like, yeah, you know, we only have these like 3 digits in these certain lines of code, so some of our older computers can't handle the flip, you know, from one century to the other, and it's going to do stuff. And it was like, you know, well, what stuff is it going to do? Basically nothing. Would cause problems in accounting software primarily. And so everybody was like, oh no, the world's going to end. Computers are super scary. Do remember that we were dealing with USB 1.1 at the time, all right? USB 1.1 had just come. So there's no charging things off USB because USB 1 doesn't carry power. Okay, so it was a long time ago. So there was this scare that all of our computers would stop working, even though, I mean, you know, we were still using floppy disks back then. But anyway, before I go any further, let me remind you that for every 1,000 subscribers I get, I do purchase one of these bracelets from 4Ocean. 4Ocean pulls a pound of trash out of the ocean every time I do that. If you would like to be health conscious and planet conscious, then, you know, you might want to leave me a comment in there and support this video by sharing it with your friends because, well, I mean, you know, better world. Anyway, so Y2K, you've got a group of high school kids, and this is one of the douchey high schools, you know? Like, you could tell Jonah Hill had something to do with this movie because I got some major Superbad vibes in the beginning. Like, there's the dude that played Fire Fist, you know? The guy that stored a pen in his rear end. He is playing Jonah Hill's character from Superbad and being totally abusive to his best friend. And that's as far as I got with Superbad because that just sucked so much for me. I don't know why you all love it. But anyway, so you have like the first half hour of Superbad is in this movie where you've got 2 pathetic D-bags who are trying to get laid, and they're passing around a condom that they found in the library. Because, I mean, look, back in the day, you were embarrassed to buy condoms. I don't know why. I remember taking a friend to go out there and buy his first condom, you know, and like we went to the store and he was like, where do you keep your prophylactics? He was all embarrassed, and then we went to this party and of course he didn't get laid. So, you know, that's a thing. And hell, Y2K was scary for a lot of people. There was a guy I remember, he was saying how he was going to a concert on New Year's, and he was like, just in case of Y2K, he stuck a flashlight in his ass. It was like, boonk! He was a convicted, he was used to sticking things up there, right? So it's like, it's not like it was like, oh my God, this is the first, it's like, he kept things, like that was just his extra pocket. So, you know, that was his thing. But anyway, so we were really afraid of Y2K. So this movie follows the kind of people who smoke weed, do stupid things, and are afraid of Y2K. And they all go to a high school party with, it's just so much douche in this room. I could smell the fish coming out of the machine. It smelled like you had left a can of full tuna in the back of your car on a hot summer day in California. That's how much douche was coming out of this screen. That is how clichély, badly, evilly stupid most of these characters were. Okay, and then of course, it's a romantic comedy until midnight when all hell breaks loose and the the electronics all go Tetsuo the Iron Man and start Voltroning into death machines and killing people. And then, of course, it's something like they got to kill the head vampire, and there's your movie. So, what? Anyway, so yeah. Oof. As I was saying, one of the things about this movie is some of your most distinctive characters die off early. And that's not a bad thing story-wise, because in the real world, hey, things like that could happen. It's a Whedon-esque plot element. It's like when Firefly, when Wash gets washed, like that's the thing. It's like they used to call that Boba Fetting, because Boba Fett died in a really sad little way, but Boba Fett was not a big character. He was just an interesting character. So, no, Boba Fett, or Wash didn't get Boba Fetted, Boba Fett got washed. That's a thing that nerds will understand. Trust me. If you're a nerd, you understand. If you understood that reference, you are a nerd. Congratulations. Or at least a geek. Anyway, so you do have, there is an element of there's no such thing as any character is safe, except for like the two characters who are falling in love, because I guess they got plot armor, and that's just what one would expect, they're at least safe until the end. That's how movies work. You very rarely in movies see the main love interest getting waxed anywhere but the final act. And that's bad writing, but hey, that's how movies work. It's kind of a thing. Anyway, so they've got sort of this, got to make it through the apocalypse to the vampire nest sort of a scenario, and then do the thing to save the world. And this is a stoner comedy. A lot of it has these slow scenes where people are talking, and they're just sort of like, let's explain what's going on. This is silly. And then you've got these other scenes where it's like, okay, this is a comedy, and that's the only reason that's happening, because if this weren't a comedy, that wouldn't be happening. But one of the bigger problems, understand that movies got a movie, and you never really feel that these creatures, these techno monsters, are much of a real threat because of just the, it's just the whole stoner vibe of it, I guess. But it's like, look, there's one scene where like this dude does something with a wrench to one of these things, and it's like, dude, you know that this is just a piece of electronics, and that's a big old pipe wrench. Those things are made of plastic. Start smashing. This, like, yeah, okay, when I was a young man in the 90s, and I had a computer, I kind of thought about things that looked like the computer monsters in this movie. This is a very 90s movie with a very 90s soundtrack and people doing things and singing Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba, and is it Fred Durst, I think, shows up, and all those sort of 90s-esque things. But for one thing, unless you really have a lot of love for the 90s, which I don't, you're not gonna enjoy this movie that much. And yes, okay, I'm assuming this movie is one of those movies that is meant to be enjoyed while having smoked a fat one. I have never actually tried weed, but I've had that giddy feeling when you're out with your friends and it's just a wonderful night and suddenly everything is funny. So I'm assuming that's what weed's like, right? So, yes, what you need is to wait for this to come out on home media, and then get together with your friends who smoke weed, and then just smoke a lot of weed, and maybe watch this movie, because there just isn't much movie. It's a collection of interesting moments that in and of themselves might be kind of funny if you were high, but as a collective whole, this movie is a slow film with slow spots action moments that you don't feel nor care about, and some really not that great singing. So, really, yeah, this belongs in the lower half of your watch list. It is, well, it's the kind of thing you watch when you're high. And if you're the kind of person that goes to the movies high, I hear that's a thing. But, it's just, I have to grade this based on being a regular person. So, lower half of your watch list, 25 years too late. This movie felt like an extended episode of Pee-wee's Playhouse, only stoned and not all that, energetic. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours down in the comments below. I, of course, am Richard. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Fred the Facehugger, and I'd like to point out that this world isn't a nice place. But you know who's trying to make it a nice place? The owner of this channel, yes. The owner of this channel does things like pay for ocean cleanup, and have trees planted, and even feed orphans in an orphanage in Mexico. Yes, it's a real thing. I'm not kidding. I may be a face-hugging alien from a horror movie, but I'm not a liar. Anyway, when you comment, like, and subscribe, you're supporting that better world, and whereas it may not make a big difference, it may be the difference between one more tree planted, one more pound of trash out of the ocean, or one child not going hungry tonight. So, think about it. Shouldn't you comment? Shouldn't you like? Shouldn't you subscribe? I certainly would if I were you. I'm Fred.